Welcome to another episode of Humanly Plausible with your hosts, Roly and Richard from the Pink Collective.
All right, so welcome to another episode of Humanly Plausible. I'm Richard, and of course I'm here with Roly, but we have a wonderful and special guest, someone that I've had the privilege of knowing for a very long time. She's the Lauderhill Commissioner. Her name is Melissa Dunn, and she's also the CEO and founder of MD Marketing. So our relationship goes back in so many different ways, and we're glad to have you here with us.
It's a pleasure to be here, gentlemen.
Glad to have you.
Yeah.
To be in the pink room.
Yeah. Well,
with the Pink Collective.
we only bring the best.
Listen.
We only bring the best. So tell us just a little bit about kind of how you're doing everything that you're doing. I mean, that's always what is really fascinating about you. Not only are you running a company, but you're also playing a vital role in public service for the city of Lauderhill. So just a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I think the real gist is my life, even before I became an elected, has always been dedicated to transforming lives, transforming communities, impacting lives, and advancing global understanding. So everything that I do, everything that I say yes to really aligns with that. And right now I'm committed to really 4 roles. My first role is as commissioner in the city of Lauderhill, which is a city of about 74,000 people in central Broward County. I'm committed to being the chief executive officer for MD Marketing Network, and we are a cause marketing agency. We specialize in healthcare and, working with governments, training, consulting. And then the third thing I'm committed to is being the chief giving officer at the Uriel Wisdom Foundation, which is a foundation that I started in honor and in memory of my son. And then the fourth thing that I'm committed to, not necessarily in that order, is being a child of God.
Come on, amen.
That's it. You do them all very well.
So now I feel guilty for complaining about anything.
All right, yeah, exactly. Like, we're busy.
So my apologies. I'm not busy.
No, absolutely.
You're busy.
So is there any crossover between your role in marketing and your role in public service?
100%. Well, I mean, like I said, the thing that knits all of those roles together is the mission, right? Is the idea that each of us can live a purpose-driven life. You don't have to sacrifice the idea of doing good or making a profit or doing good or having an impact. You can have it all. Maybe not necessarily at all times, but you can do it all really well. So in regards to how they intersect, well, as a public official, really, I'm telling the story, right? I'm right now in the city of Lauderhill, for example. I'm launching a campaign called Lauderhill Peace 365. And so I'm using all of my marketing skills to get that campaign developed because I want to share with the community that peace is all of our individual responsibilities. It's not just the folks who you hear about, committing violent crimes, but it's you and me and how I show up in the room, how I interact with my neighbor, what I do the next time somebody cuts me off in traffic. And in order for me to kind of develop that message in a way that really gets to people's heart, I have to use marketing.
That's great. I mean, that really adds to the fact that, our biggest initiative right now is empowering positive brands. And so it's important for us to continue to speak to people like you that are making a difference, because the whole mission behind that is that we are the difference.
Absolutely.
And what you're saying and how we show up. And it's something that we practice every day because Richard calls me out on it pretty much every day. And what we all do. Yeah. So it's not just one way, but it's something that it takes practice. But as as we become mindful of that.
That word. Yes.
Mindful. And so that's what we want to continue to advocate with our clients, ourselves, our team. So having these conversations are obviously a big part of it. And it's I was talking to you a little bit about the show and why we're doing what we're doing. That is the biggest part of it, is that there's so much that we can do individually. We just got to really put mind and purpose to it.
Yep. And when you have like-minded people in the room together,
Absolutely.
I really believe magic is possible.
And it's happening right now.
It's happening right now.
Exactly. It absolutely is.
So because we're in a little, we're not in a crunch, but as far as getting into the hot magic and what can happen out of this box, I think we got to get right into it. Because I want to utilize this time with her, and make sure, like, I'm curious.
We're going to get right to it. So, as many of you know, we have the out the box segment, and we're going to have Commissioner Dunn, Melissa, do the honors today, where we're going to go into our.
Oh my gosh, I'm a little bit nervous now.
So you can't look, you just got to grab.
Just got to grab, okay.
Just got to grab. We're going to shake it up.
Well, you don't know what's in there, so go ahead.
Let's go right ahead. I know you have the magic touch.
All right, let's shake it up a little bit.
All right.
All right, here we go.
You're going to read it too.
Oh, I'm going to read it. Okay.
Yeah, unless it's absolutely...
no glasses.
Oh.
Okay.
Should we be time tracking staff? Oh my gosh, how funny that we get that.
So,
stop.
I told you.
There are no coincidences. I'm telling you.
This box is amazing.
What
we were just
talking about it. How should we be time tracking staff and team members? I was just asking them off camera.
Let me see, who is this?
That's you. I think that's your writing.
Oh yeah. This was based on our one of our previous conversations.
Wow.
Look at that.
Crazy? We literally had this conversation right before the.
So you guys know what we're talking about. So Melissa, right before we went on, Melissa was talking about what project management tool are we currently using, and one of the biggest, her point was about time tracking, and so she pulls out, should we be time tracking staff and team members? So this is a great.
And the answer to that question is absolutely.
Okay.
And not from a controlling space.
All right.
But from a profitability space,
100%.
right? I'm going to give you an example. When I used to work for the same agency that we both worked for, we had an account, and it was won through RFP. When we put in the bid, the request for proposal, when we put in the bid, we wanted a $5,000 a month retainer. So I spoke to the CEO of the agency and got her to start using a time tracking tool.
Right.
We were able to get everybody on staff to track their hours, even if it's just putting in 2 words. But start, stop, and then we were able to show on record how much time we were really spending on the account. And when it came up for contract renewal, the retainer went from $5,000 to $10,000.
Great point. I don't. So this has been a long conversation with me, Richard.
Yeah.
Because I keep explaining the fact that first I was raised old school advertising. I mean, I felt like I was born into like advertising, but because I've been in advertising my entire career, and so like I was always we used to track. I mean, back in the day, we used to track printouts.
Oh wow!
So they're like lawyers. Like when they would do a monthly report, they would print out the monthly report, and it was a breakout of everything. So they would put in all the IDs of the team members, and those IDs then would pull record of everything, time codes for worked on, how many printouts that job took.
That's a lot.
And then so my first job in the industry was for a print company, and so they handled the same way. So they had a thing on the wall. I had to go in there, punch my time. I'm going to start this job. I had a job ticket, and then whatever happened between that time, they would be able to track everything too. Printouts, things that I printed out to like film.
Wow.
So to your point, you made the biggest point. Because at the end of the day, like if we're going to sit, the executives are going to sit down and say, well, how profitable is an account? What are they going to look at?
Absolutely. And it's even more important depending on the type of client that you have.
100%.
So if you are like me, where you're in the government space or you're in a nonprofit space that's being funded by a government person, funded by a government source, they have to be able to kind of show outcomes in a very clear way. Mm-hmm. And so that's just a part of the game if you're going to be working in the government contracting space. Yeah.
And so I think another kind of another question regarding that would be like now, especially in this, hybrid and people working out, not from the office, remote, even tracking, like, doesn't that become even more important? Like, what are your thoughts there?
No, not for me. I'm the type of person that I don't really care when you do the work as long as you get it done.
Right.
No pun intended.
Yeah, get it done.
No, but I think
so when I say track time, I'm not really. I think for some people, it's important for them to be able to manage productivity in terms of what people are doing and when they're doing it and how they're doing it. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
That really doesn't matter to me so much as, are we charging what we said we would charge? And if not, then how can we leverage this data to get more money?
Correct.
So I guess now that people are working remotely, it kind of help you to manage teams and making sure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. But for me, it's not so much of a let me check up on you as it is let's just manage profitability.
Well, I think I guess I was referring more to like keeping people, like especially people that are remote, right? They're not used to like really be tracking themselves. I think it helps them to manage their time and say, well, if I'm not going to just sit and work on this for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if I didn't have a busy day, I could spend 6 hours on a client. But now, is that fair to build a client 6 hours? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so there's kind of a medium, there's a gray line there.
Yeah. I think it helps the time tracking. I think one of the issues is accountability. That it gives you that opportunity. And then it also, I think, is very key, and it's kind of what you referenced with the example that you gave, is, just in terms of structuring your pricing. And that's, to me,
the most important.
Because, sometimes, especially when you're in the work, if you don't really start to quantify that time, you don't realize how much time you're actually spending. I know I've been guilty of it because I just, you just put your head down and work. And when you start to count the hours, and then quantify those hours and attach that to a rate. And then you look at what you're charging the client sometimes, it's like, we're upside down.
The other thing that's coming up for me too, as I'm listening to you, is that it takes the pressure off of having that client conversation, because now you have something in black and white to reference.
Great point.
And then if you are feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm putting in more money than putting in more time than I'm making, and you have all of this internal conversation in your head, you don't have the conversation with the client, they are going to feel it. It's going to impact your relationship, the trust. And so now when you're able to say, listen, I just want to review with you you know what I've done? And we did it with that example that I gave you, is that I would show on the invoice $10,000 worth of work. And have you see every month we're doing $10,000 worth of work, but I'm only billing you for $5,000. So when the opportunity comes, then it should be a no-brainer. And if you happen to be a nonprofit, I want my letter saying that I donated $5,000 to you every single month because then I can write that off on my taxes, right?
Yeah.
And so, I think it's a great tool. And as I'm talking to you, I'm like, okay, Melissa, you need to go back to doing that because I got away from it.
I know. Me too.
I mean, I don't know how the pandemic impacted your business, but for me, I had to build my business back from the ground up.
Well, I think the pandemic kind of just created the Wild Wild West. It just became like this, everybody just shifting and reinventing themselves. But I think one of the biggest points for us, I think where Richard, I don't know if he was convincing me or I convinced myself, where like we should just be more focused on value than we were on time. So like, okay, if this is the number that's going to cost to create A, B, and C is the way we looked at it. So it wasn't specifically about hours. It was that what we're going to bring to the table on a monthly basis. So like, we're going to be your partner for the next 6 months to handle all these different things. And this is what it's going to cost. So no more like, so then I started kind of shifting the idea where like, okay, that feels good too, but that could backfire on you.
But I think you can have it both ways. I don't think you have to sacrifice one without the other. So here's the thing. You set, this is maybe for non-government clients, right? You set your monthly retainer at X amount, knowing full well that you're going to be delivering a value that's twice that much. And that's okay. But it's important for the client to know it too, right? It's important for them to see it in black and white as well. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And in fact, I think that that's the way you should move when you're a mission-driven agency, the way that you are and the way that I am.
Yeah.
We're not, I mean, at least for me, I don't necessarily market a product. The kind of campaigns that I do are really around shifting behaviors and using marketing and PR and events and consulting and training as a tool to create social change. That's what I do. right? So it's not like I'm selling Coke.
Right.
I mean,
the drink.
the
Coca-Cola.
drink. The drink, people, Coca-Cola. It's not like I'm marketing Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Not that type of show.
Ooh, Lord, listen. Don't come for me, okay?
That's not your fault. That's society's
We're
fault.
about positive
There was one
PR.
time when you heard that word, you just think of beverage. So that's not your fault.
But I'm the person that you would call if Coca-Cola wants to do some work around using, their product or their resources to create community transformation.
Right.
And so there is a certain level of intangibility with working like that.
Yeah. And you end up, and part of our thing, I know Roly is sometimes, a client can call and, hey, we have an internal graphic designer that's struggling a little bit. Do you mind talking to that person as a creative director and just giving them some guidance? That's not in our scope, but Roly will spend a little time and do that because, once again, it's about the relationship.
It's about the relationship, and it's really important. But you got to press that button so that at the end of the month or the end of the year or when the time comes to renew the contract, when you're talking about the intangibles, you can just really, say.
All
and
right,
I
so
think
we're
a
gonna
lot
have
of
to do
times
that.
clients appreciate it, I think.
Yeah.
And I have one client in particular whom I love. I am very committed to their mission. And we kind of agree, listen, if it's going to look like we're going to pass this amount, have a conversation with me about it so that he can then do what he needs to do to make the adjustments. Does it mean that I won't go over if it's required? No, that's not what it means. We'll figure it out, but it's still a business.
No, I mean, I agree. There has to be a halfway, there's a midway point there. So I think there's definitely, I still believe about the, I'm strong on the value, but there has to be still that reporting. Yeah. So at least as a business owner, you can say, all right, this account doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And then on the other end, I don't upcharge printing, like when because a lot of times I get what do you call it? Broker rates.
Right.
And I pass the savings on to the client. I don't charge you for emails and faxes. Well, I don't fax, but I don't charge you for the 1,000,001 texts and phone calls and all that. So I don't bill you for that. I just bill you when we are actually sitting down to do the work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think again, like attorneys do it. They're still doing it. So
they're billing for everything that they do. Which
when I go see my mechanic, he bills me for everything.
Yeah.
He doesn't have no sympathy.
That I don't do, but if we're,
Yeah, no, I know.
But I think it is a really important part of having your client seeing you as bringing value than being a cost. Because when you can show that the work that I'm putting in is yielding this, that becomes an investment, not a cost, because I'm bringing you value. And sometimes, and I guess with some clients, having that hourly accountability is important. But then again, we have the clients that the work product is ultimately what they're looking for and how they see the value. And
it can be both.
Yeah.
It can be both.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have
So
to
great
be
conversation.
either or.
I've definitely, now I'm challenged. That's going to be now my new, sorry guys, it's going to happen. I'm going to have to figure out
we'll figure out.
Sorry, buddy.
It's coming. No, but I think he can't disagree. I mean, there's no way he can challenge that. Like, I mean,
because I've seen at times where it's been beneficial to really kind of dissect how much time we're putting into it. So I'm not against it. I just know that sometimes it's not.
I think there's a happy medium to this conversation.
Agreed.
So I think in conclusion, from my end, I think it's a yes. Total yes for me. I think there's just finding the right balance between value and time. And not only that, but giving these remote workers more of a kind of structure so they can also allocate and work their time. Because that's another thing too. So, a lot of remote workers feel like sometimes they're just being overused.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other component too, which is something that I'm currently trying to figure out, is which tool are you going to use?
I know.
If you have something that's super challenging to navigate, then people are not going to use it, right?
100%.
So, I'm trying to find an all-in-one platform that merges with QuickBooks and everything else so that it's just press a button and it's done.
So if you're watching this podcast and you have a recommendation for the best project management tool that you've used, please feel free, drop them in the comments. We're looking for things, of course. Commissioner Melissa Dunn will be looking out. And I know that You have another engagement, but we really are happy.
Yes, thank you for making the time
that you came through today. Where can people learn more about you, and where would you suggest that people look you up if they want to know about your great work?
Well, I have a lot of different platforms, but
know
I
that's
think
right.
Well, we're also going to plug you on our podcast page, so we'll have all the different links to your pages.
Well, I say that if you are interested in being a source for light and good, one of the best ways to reach me is to follow me on Dunn Wisdom. DunnWisdom.com, Dunn Wisdom on Facebook, Dunn Wisdom Morning Show on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Nice.
And if you need that inspiration, you definitely need to watch Dunn Wisdom and follow her. Definitely.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen. Now you've
Thank
given me
you.
homework.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. And thank you all for listening and watching. Great to see you guys on another episode of Humanly Plausible.
All right, guys, take care.
Be well. That was fun.
That was awesome.
That was fun.